Hey everyone, happy Future Friday. You're watching Prepare to Go There, a coaching conversation about your pioneering leadership journey. My name is Peter Burchfield. I'm the host of this YouTube podcast, helping you lead yourself and stay focused on your future. And I'm also the creator of the course Pioneer the Year, which is all about life planning and leadership and things you can learn, things you can try, things you can do over time that will turn repeat years into new frontiers. And today is an important day because your future deserves your focus. I think sometimes we're just going to show up and everything's going to be handed to us or something, but I don't know. Life doesn't work that way, right? I mean, it doesn't work for me. I'm grateful for, the sacrifice of other people that have gone before me and that have put in work so that way I could benefit from it. But we have to continue that cycle, right? We have to put in work today so that way the future is worth living in and leaving behind. And so we've got a lot of ground to cover. I want to open with a few just kind of opening comments real quick. The first one is, if you're watching live, you made my day. Thank you so much. Go ahead and say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can just start dropping in any questions that come up, and then we will have a time at the very end to go through them. Also, I am sporting my new favorite hat. I don't know if Sarah Joy gave it to me, but I have given her credit for it. And this is a new podcast that Sarah Joy and her friend Kelly have launched. They just released episode 2, and it is awesome. So I'm a proud husband, and I'm proud of my wife for launching the Honesty Club podcast. They really just talk about hot topics and give their honest takes. And I think their catchphrase is, it's free to disagree, because they're just trying to encourage people to have honest conversations without getting so offended or polarized And, friendship is a really courageous thing in 2022. And I'm proud of them for advocating those kind of conversations. And I think it's a great case study of what we are doing all the time, which is we're trying to be responsible, but we're also going for things in the future. And so there's stuff currently happening like, life, eating, sleeping, family, work, responsibilities, crazy emergencies that just kind of pop. And then in the mix of all of that, we have to keep our heart engaged and then our head focused on things that are waiting for us in the future frontier. And so that's why I believe your future deserves your focus. And that's why I want to have this conversation, which is so incredibly important, helping you with your self-leadership. And so let's figure out how to get our slides to behave. I'm joking. I want to talk about how to take off into more future-focused work. I think we all have, work sessions going on, but we don't know how to really get focused on the work that matters. And we've talked about this before, but, there is a big difference between future work and fake work. And you and I have to be the be the referee to see what's happening in real time, to, sort through what we're feeling, what we're facing in the moment, and then say, no, out of bounds. That's fake work. That's not going to help me prepare to go there. We've got big ideas. We've got a big, bright future. We've got to be working on it, working towards it. This is not going to help us in that long range. And so we've got to be honest and say fake work. And then we also have to get very intentional. Okay, I get it. Fake work is not going to help me, move closer towards the future. I'm just going to be drifting further and further away from what's important and what's possible. But Peter, how do I actually get focused long enough so that way I can put in the work that matters for the future? And that's why I want to have this conversation. And man, I want to show you, I got a list of things to tell you. We're going to go through it pretty quickly, and then we can unpack it as you want to guide this conversation. Because this is a live conversation, real time. We're investing 30 minutes a week to keep the future on the front burner. And I want to use a metaphor of an airplane ride, because when I get in the zone, my alone zone, and I get some of my best work done, it kind of feels like an airplane ride. In fact, if I'm honest, I love, going on airplane rides literally because I kind of have all of the right ingredients for a really focused work session. There's something nice about, preparing and then getting settled and knowing I am going to have a lot of time to just focus on one thing. And there's a little bit of a game behind it, a little bit of urgency mixed in with it, because I know from the time I take off to the time I land, that is a set finite timeline that now I get to maximize for whatever project is at hand. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to organize a lot of files and folders that have been neglected for a while. Maybe you want to just read something. Come on, when was the last time we actually had some quality downtime to just take in a good book, like our current book we're all going through, which is called Atomic Habits by James Clear, a fabulous book for self-leadership. I mean, when was the last time you got to literally take off into focused work? And I'm going to take you through the sequence of my own future-focused work sessions. And thankfully, I've been able to reverse engineer this, learn from a lot of great people, and then kind of field test it in my own life and leadership. And so I'm going to just start running through this, and hopefully we can be catching these keys for better focused work. And so future work is like an airplane ride. And here's the thing that we got to catch. It takes a while to get going, but you can get so much further in that airplane than you would without that airplane. So that is the choice, and that is the kind of the calculated risk that we're making. Is you say, man, I don't want to do future focused work, and I don't want to get in a really good work session right now because I'm going to have to do all the planning. I'm going to have to do the pre-work. I'm going to have to get away. I'm going to have to set myself up for success, and that's going to take some time. And Peter, if I'm honest, I just kind of want to knock a few things out real quick and then eject and go into something else. Or if I'm honest, Peter, I'm better as multitasking, which is task switching. It's not multitasking. We're multitalking all the time, and it's really task switching because our focus really does have to just go back and forth like a ping pong game, and so we're not really up to that work to actually show up for a great future focused work. The same way that there's a lot of pre-work involved in an airplane ride, right? You have to plan ahead. You have to make the commitment. You have to make the decisions. You have to book the flight. You got to pack the suitcase or the carry-on. You got to show up. Then you got to find the right terminal, the right gate. You got to go through security. You got to wait in the gate. You got to find the restroom right before you're getting on the gate. There's a lot of steps involved into just getting on an airplane. But once you sit down in that airplane, you know that you have a dedicated time frame to just let it take you further faster than you could go on your own. That's why we do all the legwork. That's why we go through those hoops, is because we realize, hey, if we're just driving ourselves, or if we take all the transportation off, we do a real kind of grid down scenario, if we're just trying to walk from where we are to where we're trying to go, man, that would take forever, and it would exert so much energy. And then to kind of bring it back into real life, real world terms, that airplane is useful. That airplane ride is valuable to us because it does help us go further faster than we could go without it. And the same is true with a future-focused work session. I know people don't like just sitting down to plan stuff. They don't like putting in the preparation. They don't like thinking about their future because it does take a lot of steps. There's legwork involved. But if you'll be willing to just get into that future-focused work session, that future-focused work session will set you up not just days in advance, having a weekly planning session, but that future-focused work session has the potential to take you months in advance, maybe even years in advance. That is the power of a future-focused work session. That is the gift of doing the work to get on that airplane, so that way you can just focus on one thing that matters for your future. And that's why I really encourage you, take off, get on the airplane, get in a future-focused work session, have, whether it's planning or whether it's preparing, you need time to focus on the things in your future. And in this conversation, I want to help you understand those steps so you can put your life on airplane mode for a while, and you can finally focus on your future work. So the first thing is start with the end in mind. Start with the destination, and then the details will work themselves out. So many times we focus on the how before we focus on the why. When you're going into a future-focused work session, whether you're planning your week or whether you're working on a big project that's going to set you up for the next few months or that's going to be important to you in the next quarter or two, you want to know the destination. Like, why are you doing this? Where are you going? What's the big picture? I always like to start zoom out and then zoom in because it creates context that's super valuable as you're making decisions. So pick the destination, kind of like an airplane. You don't want to just say, which one is taking me? And you're just kind of jumping around, flying around. That would actually set you back even further. Instead, you want to know the destination, know the end game, know the goal, know the purpose for that work session. And it's a decision that has to be personalized, and then it's got to get externalized in writing. So you know the destination in your head, but now it's time to kind of map that flight plan out. And every airplane ride has a flight plan. The pilots have a flight plan. And a flight plan is basically the steps, the agenda for that airplane ride. I think it's really good to have a simple written summary of the work session you're about to have. It could literally be a one-sentence summary, or it could be maybe like a few bullet points, or it could be like, it doesn't have to be super complex, right? It could literally just be a few doodles on a page, or it could be something a little more, structured, like, bullet points or list making, whatever your comfort level is. But you've got to put it on paper on purpose. That's your flight plan. You want to be doing that backwards planning, right? Not binge work, but batch work. We talked about this last week. Binge work, let me get my name down here. Binge work is where you just show up and you work on what's in front of you the same way you watch what's in front of you. And then when that's over, something is recommended to you, and then you watch that, or, then you watch that, and then you watch that, and things are just kind of happening to you. And binge working is the same way. You just kind of start your day checking email. You start your day kind of with the first thing in mind, and then that leads to another thing and another thing and another thing and another thing. And then you say, how did I end up in, Miami when you're trying to get to Portland or whatever? I'm using a metaphor there. Instead, have a flight plan that will, from a high level view, very short but intentional, map out where you're trying to go. You can do this in a day. You could do this in a week. You could do this by project. You could do this with a meeting guide. I mean, whatever it looks like, you need to guide yourself with some sort of flight plan, some sort of written forecast of how you're going to get that work done. You know the goal, you know the end destination. Now it's time to reverse engineer it, put it out on paper on purpose. All right? Like, do you know if this future-focused work, whether it's planning something or working on a specific project in the plan, is it going to take you one work session? Is it going to take you multiple work sessions? Like, how much time are you working with? Are you putting in 30 minutes? Are you putting in 60 minutes? Are you putting in 90 minutes? I mean, you just work on some of those logistics and it will smooth out that airplane ride, and you'll get to that destination successfully and efficiently. All right, so we want to start with the end in mind. We want to have a flight plan. We also want to travel light. A lot of times we bring too much into the work session, and we think that we're going to need all these tasks and all these tools. We're going to try all these tactics, and really you are your best tool in this project. You are bringing your intentionality, your passion, your creativity, your resourcefulness. That's what's going to make this a future-focused work session, because you are leading yourself and you're staying focused on what matters most. And so you really just need to travel light. I mean, thankfully now we can do so much with just a few pieces of technology, right? On your phone, you can get a lot done. You can communicate, you can collaborate, you can, create and make things. It's so important that you just have a few simple tools that you can just work with the time you have. If you're bogged down, if you're trying to do too much, take on too much, switch around to too much, it's going to bog you down, and it's going to waste some really valuable time that you could be extra productive. Okay, so even when we show up to the work session, whether it's at home for a home office, maybe you meet up somewhere like some sort of team hub, maybe you like to work kind of at a coffee shop somewhere with some background noise, or you can be kind of ignored. That's really helpful to just have some movement around you. Wherever you show up, man, don't bring like a lot of baggage into that flight. Instead, you want to think of this like a airplane trip from one place to another. You're not moving, you're just visiting. It's just a field trip to your future. And you want to take the few essential tools possible. For me, it's something to write with, something to write on. It may be my phone, maybe some headphones, and then bonus, I would take my laptop. Like, honestly, that would be more than enough to get going, because you can create content like that. You can communicate. You can make drafts for something coming up in the future. You can organize your steps. You can be learning something. I mean, you don't need a lot. Travel light. Next one is, I'm going to imagine like we're actually getting in position, right? We're getting on that airplane. We're getting set up. I'm trying to help you eliminate the friction and the frustration, and to help you think about what would it take to get focused and stay focused for a really long time. And so what happens is we show up, and then we remember something else that we need. Oh, I forgot to text this person. Let me do that real quick. Or, oh man, I didn't go to the bathroom yet. I need to take a break like in the first 5 minutes, or maybe you're saying, I am super cold now in this place, so I got to go get a jacket. Like, there's so many things that can derail and hijack and sabotage a focused work session, and we want to eliminate all of that. And so another thing that you want to think about is picking the right seat. Picking the right seat on the airplane. And what I mean by this in the metaphor is your work space, your work station. Man, it is so important that you think about the environment you're going to work in. Now, I'm not going to get too detailed on this metaphor, because I was actually thinking about, the pros and cons of sitting in a window seat versus an aisle seat, and how would you kind of work through things if you're in the middle seat, or how could you upgrade your work environment to a first class seat? And I think that would be a little too much for this conversation, but maybe that'd be a fun workshop that we could get kind of geeky and really work on optimizing our workspaces with that metaphor in mind. But in the meantime, I just want you to realize that your workspace matters, and it's not something that you just kind of fall into. You actually have to prepare the workspace to stay there a long time and to get really quality work done. And if I get on an airplane, if I have a choice, I'm going to pick a window seat. I like having a view. And what that means to me is that I want to keep the big picture in mind. Whenever I'm working, I want to have something that gives me a view into the future. And I think one of the best things that gives you a view into the big picture in the future is your calendar. So I actually start my work session looking out first, and then head down working on what I got to do to get there, to go for it. So another thing that could be helpful in the window seat metaphor It's just something that helps you think bigger, something that helps you look out the window of life and remember what's important and what's possible. And so a podcast could help with that. Just kind of expanding your worldview, learning something, getting inspired again. So have a podcast that you enjoy ready to go, and it's going to just trigger your creativity, trigger your focus, and help you kind of get going. And that's all we need, right? We don't need a lot of stimulus. We just need to get in that space. And once we're in that workspace and once we're in that headspace, it's like that airplane just took off and we're cruising. And that's what we want. We want to be in the air as long as possible so that way we can go as far and fast into the future as we can. And so after we pick the right window seat, we're thinking about our workspace. We're thinking about how are we going to get in the right headspace now. The work session you start with will be the one you land with. So choose wisely. Avoid distracting people. Avoid distracting places. You got to think about that too. If you're just showing up at like a coffee shop where it's a lot of hustle and bustle, people are coming in and out often, you might not want to camp out there. If you become a camper, that could become distracting to the other people, or you might get distracted by all the in and out. So, when you're picking your chair in this airplane metaphor, you're thinking about the expectation of being there a long time. And so think about that before you ever sit down. Say, okay, what location at my house? What location at the coffee shop? What location, at my work hub is going to help me stay here at least 30 minutes, at least 60 minutes, at least 90 minutes, or maybe you could go even further. I'm talking head down deep work. All right, now we picked the chair, we're getting settled in. Now we're floating into our alone zone. So nice. It's easier said than done. It's probably because more is being said than done. And we've got to get as close to silence as possible. And I mean internally. We're trying to get really quiet so that way our focus can get really clear. And that's one of the things I've noticed. We could say, oh, I'm going to be watching a show, or I'm going to be, listening to a podcast, or I'm going to be multitasking. And that's good to kind of fill that awkward space, but it's not helping us get super clear, super quiet, and super focused. So I like to use media as an on-ramp, as a taxi into the focused work, but not as the codependency. I'm not codependent, because what happens is, I can sit down, I got a monitor here, I put on like a YouTube video of a conversation, and I'm telling myself this is going to help me focus on the work, on this monitor, but I'm listening and watching that monitor. And then I say, oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. Well, what do you think about that? Oh yeah. And now I'm more focused on the thing that was supposed to be the background than I am what I'm supposed to be working on in the foreground. And then that stops, and then it's like this big cliff, and it's almost like the airplane just stalls right midair. And then I feel this free fall, and I'm like, oh no, I need something else to keep my attention. I need to stay entertained, and I won't work if I don't have another espresso, and I need this, and I need that. And you got to get less needy, and you've got to focus on that project. You got to focus on that calendar. You got to do important work. And, something that helps as a supplement really hurts as a substitute. And so you got to keep that in check. And that's why I'm trying to move towards silence. Even if something's playing in the background, what's going to happen is I'm going to forget about it. And I'm going to just kind of zone in to the thing I'm working on. It was helpful to get me going, but it's not needed to keep me going. And that's where we're on that taxi, right? That taxi is you're in the airplane, but you're not up in the air yet. And you're just kind of transitioning into place so that way, boom, you can take off and fly. And that's what you're doing with some of these inserts. And there's a few things we can do. I'm going to keep reading because I put it down later here, but it's a big transition in your work, right? In your work session, it's a big transition. You want to be thinking about what could help me get in my alone zone, but not sabotage it. And there are some simple things we can do. Get as close to silence internally as possible. Headphones help. Block your view of attention grabbers. Set a timer for your work taxi. Man, this is awesome. Get your phone. We're going to do the ultimate power move, which is putting that phone on airplane mode. What? Yes. For a select time, I will put the timer and airplane mode together. All right. So I'm keeping the phone on airplane mode for a dedicated period of time. I'm not just putting it on airplane mode because then I could just get focused and forget that I had it on airplane mode. And then I'm thinking, hey, nobody's looking for me. I could just keep doing this. And then I'm going to wake up to a lot of responsibility that's been waiting on me. Or I'm not going to just, set a timer and not put my phone on airplane mode because the timer is running and I'm thinking, it won't take too long, 2 seconds, 5 minutes. Let me just answer this message. That idea. Let me look that up on Google. Oh, hey, look at that ad. That applies to me, right? Because all the ads are personalized for me. And so you're going through them. I like to get in my alone zone. I like to taxi. I like to take off into that future focused work session by putting my phone on airplane mode and setting a timer with it. So now I have the motive, which is urgency, and I have the means, which is free space to actually get in there and think through and work on the important project. Give yourself time to taxi before you take off. You can do this by journaling. Journaling is powerful. Man, I have a whole module in the course, Pioneer of the Year, just on journaling. Not in an introspective way, like Dear Diary, this is what I did, but instead in a productive way where you're actually leading yourself into the future intentionally and incrementally, and you're documenting your journey, which is so much more valuable than you can presently see. And so having a simple journal and a journal exercise to write that flight plan, like we talked about, or to, get the stuff on your head out of the way so that way you can feel resolved and ready to work, that could be something you consider. Also, you can just organize stuff on your laptop, on your computer. Organize the files and the folders that would be cluttering your view of a creative work session. You map out the decisions you need before you get into that heavy lifting. You can work on yourself. You can work on your plans. All of this stuff is kind of like taxiing. You haven't totally taken off yet, but you're in that neighborhood. You're getting in position. Another thing I like to do is before I put that phone on airplane mode, I will send a text message. I'll send a text message. This is literally something that I do when we travel. I'll think of all the people, that we care about, and I'll just send out a few text messages. Hey, we're on the plane. We're heading out. I'll let you know when we land. Send that text message, and then put the phone on airplane mode. This is a courtesy, right? This is something super kind, and yet it's actually going to benefit you. When you tell people, I am going deep, I am getting work done, I am going to focus, maybe you tell them what it is so they have a reason, and it doesn't sound like so secretive or shady. but you actually level with people on your team. Hey, I'm going to be working on a big project that's going to help us for the next 4 months. Give me 90 minutes. I'll check in with you later. That goes a long way. It lets them know he or she knows that I'm around, right? They know that I'm here, that I exist. But it also gives you that permission to say, I love you, but don't talk to me. It's just super easy. Send a text before you take off. Let people know that you're in the future. And when you do that, you got to give them the confidence that you're actually going to go back and talk to them and help them and serve them when you land again. Because if you're just kind of gone, then we're going to make another season of Lost or Castaway, or we're wondering, are you okay? What happened to you? We needed your help, and now we think you need help. I'm having too much fun, guys. I'm so... Oh, all right. We gotta get through this list. It's really hard to describe when you're going to take off exactly, when you're actually going to enter that flow and enjoy that productive work. But when you do, I encourage you, take advantage of it. And the way you do that is by staying future focused. Don't waste that super valuable focused work session on fake work, but invest that time on future work. Future work gets you going. Future work gets you ahead. Future work needs a focus, though, and that focal point is the flight plan that you made earlier before you showed up. And the easier it is, the faster you'll fly through it. Now, sometimes you do go through turbulence, and maybe you do need to get out of your seat or your workspace for some reason. But that's not the end of the flight, right? Just because you go through some turbulence or just because you have to leave your workstation for a little bit doesn't mean necessarily that the work session is over, that the future focusing is done. All you got to do is pause. Don't quit, and don't forget what you're doing. Instead, pause so you can come back and continue. Check in. If you need to, that's fine. You can do that in the pauses. That's where the timers really help. Specifically, if you're going longer than, 2 or 3 hours maybe, and you got other people you're connected to, other people you care about. So you want to stay in touch with them and let them know, hey, I'm doing great. I'm going to go another round. I'm going another 30 minutes. I'm going another 90 minutes, whatever it is. But setting those timers is a way to stay structured, and then to make sure that you get a good user experience in for other people. So when you tell them, hey, I'm going to go, take a field trip into the future, they know, oh, that's a good thing. Whenever they come back from that thing, they're more prepared, they're more present, they're happier, they're more organized, they actually spend more time helping me out. I like it when they go to the future. I like it when they're being productive in that way. And then I had all these other metaphors and analogies about time zones and jet lag and landing and connecting flights and all this stuff. And if you're interested in that, let's just stay on the journey. But for now, I'm going to land the plane, no pun intended. But man, this has been a really corny live stream. Y'all are making me kind of goofy here, I guess. All right. I want to get to your questions next. We're actually going to plan out the next 7 days for your week. We're going to put it on paper on purpose. Friday is the best day to get ahead for the new week. And so we're going to talk about that, but I do want to kind of give you a little promo for our sponsor, which is the new course, Pioneer the Year. Pioneer the Year is an on-demand course on Teachable that I created for you. and it's all about your pioneering leadership journey. So many of us are just stuck in a repeat year cycle. It's where we're just kind of in a rut, and we can see what's important, we see what's possible, but we're not making traction towards it. We're just going through the motions. We're not feeling any real movement in that direction. And so that's why we need help, right? I needed help. I remember what it was like writing down the same goals every year, writing down the same frustrations every year, and not actually making traction towards them. And that's when I put the time and effort into learning, actually learning what are the steps, what are the stages needed to pioneer the year. Not just in January, not just when I'm feeling motivated, but I'm talking about a lifestyle that incorporates a pioneering approach to your life planning and leadership, so that way you can be pioneering, creating, and dominating the entire year and not just the good days. And so I want to bring in a conversation that I had with my wife, Sarah Joy. I think she sums up this course beautifully, and I always love involving her. So let's check this out, and I'll be back to help you with your planning session. Finish up with this last question about the schedule, right? The calendar, because that's where it all lands. Everything that we're talking about, dreaming about, praying about, whatever, it's going to show up in real time. So I think one of the challenges that a lot of pioneering leaders have is they don't have the scaffolding, they don't have the external motivation that they used to have or that they hope to have, and they think, well, if I just had an assistant, if I had a team, if I had outsourcing, if I had more mentors, if I had more instant gratification on social media, then all of these pieces would all fit in place. And that's not what pioneering leadership looks like. It looks like being internally motivated, consistently focused, bringing the best of you every single day. And the tool that we come back to again and again is the schedule. So what's some of the frustrations and then hopefully the joys of realizing, oh no, if I don't move, nothing will happen. If I don't get out of bed, nothing will happen. That realization, that gravity that hits you and says, wow, I really do have to take responsibility for what's going on the schedule.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so glad you asked. If you haven't taken Peter's quiz on what's your pioneering archetype, I would say go take that right now. I think it really helps bring a lot of verbiage and clarity to just the way that you work and the way that you think, the way that you plan. And so I took the quiz. I actually helped him make the quiz, and I wasn't at all sure what I was, but I thought I was sure of what I was not. And then I took the quiz and I ended up as an explorer, which I did not think that I was anyway. But then reading through it, I was like, oh, this nailed me. It's so true. So anyway, take the quiz and find out, just really kind of what your leadership style or your pioneering style is like, how you approach the future, how you think about other people, how you involve yourself, what your work style is. It's very helpful. Is it in your bio right now? Can people click and see that right there? Okay. Yes. So it's definitely in his Instagram bio, and then I think the link is in the description of this video. So go take that quiz, because that's really helpful to be able to just know up front, kind of identify some things, what your style is. And he also gives you this big blurb that really is an insight into your work style and how you should, like how many hours per week you should set aside for yourself, or what kind of time blocks you should use that really work best with you. I think for mine, it says, give yourself 30 minutes. Because my kind of style of working is to just get to work. And I really have trouble sometimes just setting aside time to like plan stuff out, because as I'm writing it out, I'm like, I'm motivated right now. Like I gotta finish this ASAP to just go start doing it. But you really have to take the time to like sit out and like plan stuff. And I would say I've not been traditionally a calendar person. I think I've been very vocal about that. I don't journal and I don't use a calendar, because for me, it's felt like such a trap. Like if I commit to something, then I can't do other things, and I can't follow my creativity, and I can't, jump into this. But this past week, I was like, I'm ready for this. Let's do a calendar planning session. Please, Peter, help me, get some stuff done. I have all these different things that I really want to do. And I would really like to get, a month ahead on my YouTube content. And I would really like to start making some TikToks. I just have ideas for them, and I just I don't have time for it. I've got some other stuff that needs to get done, and we need to start doing our taxes. I want to have, time to do this big house project that I have on my mind, but I don't know how to fit it all in. And, I was getting overwhelmed just listing out all of the different things that I wanted to do and kind of like estimating how many hours it would take. And then I was just thinking like, I don't know how to fit all of this in. And I could say it's Friday. I've had a great week. I've gotten so much done, and I'm just,
come on.
I'm shocked. Like even in day 1 and day 2, I was like, wait, I already got so much done. So anyway, this is not a plug on like how to be more productive, but just really how to think strategically and how to have the right mindset coming into planning your week. Like just having the right tools is a game changer, or having the right coach. I would say I had a coach like sitting right next to me, like walking me through it. That was such a game changer for me, because when anybody would like give me a planner, and Peter even would do this like when we were dating, he's like, I bought you a planner. And it's like some goal setting Christian go for it girl planner. And I was like, I feel bad and we'll use this, but I probably filled out like 6 days worth and never got into it. I definitely felt bad, but I couldn't swing it without somebody really walking me through it. And now I feel like I really, I have a system that actually works for me and my style. So anyway, grateful.
Just see how much more you got accomplished, how much, it's not just the task list is done, it's the way you feel at the end of the week. You feel energized, you feel amazing. To know that you are intentionally going for that big, bright future. If someone really took the challenge and they put 30 minutes into thinking strategically about the next week, some people don't even do that. They don't even have some sort of weekly planning session. But if somebody took the challenge and they said, I'm actually going to do it, where do they begin?
I mean, for me, it helps to start with a brain drain and just take everything that's like looming in the back of my mind and try to get it all down on paper and remember all the things that I want to do. Because they can just stay in your mind for months at a time. And then you don't get that, mental clarity, because you have so many different things that are still like swimming around. So just getting it all down on paper is a really good first step. And taking the time just right before the week starts, right before things start picking up, when you can have a breather. I think we did it on like Saturday. We just sat down and took, I don't even think I took a full 30. I probably took 15 or 20, but it was, And that
really shows it is a small investment. 15 minutes for 168 hours. Of getting the week to just kind of get untangled, get sorted out, and then you can, launch out. So
and then out of the 168 hours, I think I only planned like 42 hours of it, which sounds like a lot. I was like, oh, this is a full-time job. But you're going to spend the time either way, so how are you going to spend it? Give yourself extra time and not less time. Don't think you can get more things done in a day and try to overemphasize it. Give yourself fewer things, but in a little bit more buffer time. And then you'll feel good because you can actually get more things done than you even budgeted for, instead of fewer and then feeling like you're behind all week. So just, I guess, trim down a little bit and give yourself more room, more time for different projects than you think.
Make your schedule official. However you can do that. There is a point where you're kind of thinking through it, but there has to be a definitive line that you cross over and you say, my week is starting, here is a plan, I'm going to start working on it. I am totally okay with improvising and improving the plan, but I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to be intentional. So, if it's already on paper, it feels real, but you can put it in your calendar. Another thing that you can do is you can actually present the week you planned. Present it to your spouse, your team, your assistant. You need to actually put yourself out there and say, this is the kind of week I'm going to have. And then you can actually grade yourself, in a few days and say, how am I doing? And where am I going? And what's next? So. All right, friends, this is your time. Okay, I want to help you with your questions and really go to work on your own leadership. Go to work on your own workflow. Future Friday is that day where I get ahead. It's the day where I look at the next 7 days on the calendar, and it's the day where I either focus on one big project that I've identified for the quarter, or I'm learning, I'm reading, I'm watching, a YouTube podcast like this, or I'm just having a great conversation with a friend. But you need dedicated time in your rhythm, in your calendar rhythm for future-focused work. And I hope that you've been inspired and really informed what it looks like, what it takes, so that way you can enjoy it more frequently. And the way we're going to kind of roll out from here, I am so grateful for everyone who's been on the live stream. And that's why I show up live, to help you out. So it is all coming down to the chat right now. And if you have a question, great, bring it up. Hopefully it is about the context of this YouTube podcast. But I want to give my time to serve the project and the work you're focused on right now. But in the meantime, there's no pressure, no hard feelings. If you don't want to go that direction, ask a question. That's fine. In the meantime, I'm going to be waiting and explaining some things that are great to know for everyone. And in that video, we talked about the course Pioneer the Year. So I want to tell you about Pioneer the Year. It is an on-demand course on Teachable that will help you learn the insights and strategies you need to turn repeat years into new frontiers. A lot of us, we get started with great intentions, and then we just kind of get lost in the wilderness of the future frontier. We get into March and we just kind of lose our way. And so we need to figure out a pioneering approach to life planning leadership, so that way we can pioneer the entire year and not just the good days. And that's why I created this course. There's 4 modules that will walk you through it step by step. In fact, I'm going to pull this screen down, and I'm going to share a new screen, hopefully, that will show you what the website looks like. I'm going to take you through the exact steps here, so that way you can get right into the course. All right, I think you're seeing this. Here it is. You go to pioneertheyear.com. There it is. Let me see if it'll, where are you? Yes. All right. So pioneertheyear.com. Don't live through another repeat year. And then you can get more information about the project, about me, the guide for this course. And then I want you to check out the course itself. right? Go through the course and then you can enroll there. pioneertheyear.com. I'm passionate about helping you on your pioneering leadership journey. The other thing I want to let you know about is coaching. Coaching is another project that I get to share with my leadership community here. And you can check that out at peterburchfield.com. And so I'd love to work on your leadership with you. And this is the first step. So check this out. And let's go to your questions in the next 7 days. Do you have a game plan? Do you have a flight plan for the next 7 days? I think if you don't have a list of projects that you know you're going to own from finish to start to finish, and I say that because we're going to start with the end in mind. We're going to reverse engineer it, do that backwards planning, and then we're going to run that plan to the best of our ability. Understanding that, of course, we're going to have to improvise and improve along the way, but the destination is decided and the resolve to get there is inevitable. So once you've got a list or a mind map or a journal or a summary or a conversation about all those projects that are in your 7-day range or your 30-day range or your 90-day range, it's time to get to work, and it's time to figure out how are we going to make that work. And I think a lot of us, we have the gusto to just kind of throw ourselves into the work, and we do more of that binge working instead of the batch working that I've been talking about. And we're doing good work. I mean, we are trying to stay future focused with the stuff in front of us, but the style, the work style, the workflow that you choose is going to make a difference, because binge working is fun, but it's not sustainable, right? It's where you just sit down, you watch something, and you sit down, you work on something, and maybe it's a season, a show, right? You're getting through the whole show. Or maybe you're bouncing around and you're watching all these random videos like on a platform like this. But batch working is where you actually know the destination. You start with the end in mind and you reverse engineer it and make sure it's a success. And you're actually planning the contingencies of what could go wrong in that work session, what could go wrong in the time between now and then. And you're figuring out how to accomplish those goals and even how to bring other people into that teamwork, which is a whole nother conversation that we have at Pioneer People, all about team leadership and servant leadership and taking on new territories together. So I really appreciate your time. Thanks for going on this guided coaching journey with me. I'm cheering you on. Remember, you're going places, but you got to prepare to go there. Have an awesome day. I'll see you next Friday, 11:30 live, or you can check out all the content at Prepare to Go There YouTube. See ya.